That's why they don't necessarily talk about like this Italian origin cards.
Yeah, no, there is, yeah. It's unfortunately it's known as the tarot of Marseille, but now. So actually, the whole tarot without the major arcana was in around the 1400s. And then what happened is that because Italy was under the domination of France, it was under the how you call it, the French Empire. So this card actually traveled back to France.
Okay, that part I did not know either. I thought Italy was like, I knew it was like many independent like states or little countries, but I didn't know that it was under like.
Yeah, we have a major part of it. The northwestern part of Italy was part of the French Empire. So basically, these cards traveled to France.
So it is not quite correct to say Italian tarot cards were exported to France. It was
somehow they were connected, like in somehow people traveling back and forth, most likely they brought these decks to France. And that's where in France they developed these cards and stuff to use it. They were very popular.
That's why they don't necessarily talk about like this like Italian origin cards.
Yeah, no, there is, it's unfortunately it's known as the tarot of Marseille, but now, I mean, a different story of the major arcana. So,
is it correct to say that French people don't consider the origin of tarot cards were from Italy?
I'm not sure.
Huh, that's interesting. That would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they realized that
it was
actually from Italy, but it is. So 1400, from Italy to France, and then came back to Italy again.
Yeah.
It came back to Italy again and been popularized at the same time, at the very same time. So we're still talking about the 1400, at the very same time, still in Italy.
Yeah.
These cards were added on with the what we call the major arcana today.
Well, I do have to apologize to my students if they're watching this video that I did not know that small details of the history of tarot cards, that it was at first court cards that were like added in Italy and got carried to France, and then it was brought back to Italy, and at this point there has not been major arcana yet.
It's kind of parallel. So when they come back to Italy, I'm not sure whether they already had some kind of major arcana attached to it, but because the period is it's pretty much at the same period. So it's pretty much around the 1400. And what happened in the 1400, this still in Italy for sure, that attached to the 56 cards, to the cards of the 4 suits plus the court cards, they added on these what do we call the major arcana. But the major arcana that they added on were taken from with a totally different meaning that we may think, but there was a lot of lore attached to it. So it was taken from literature, poems, especially they were called the triumph, right? I mean, the major arcana.
Yeah, the triumphs, yes.
And like we have a major work from a famous poet called Petrarca, and it's the name of the poem is The Triumph. And most of the figurines of the depiction are taken from poems, are taken from works of the literature, the Middle Age literature of Italy, representing some kind of, like for instance, the death card is coming from the plague, right? It's representing the time of the plague.
Yeah.
So the card has a very strong feel of the the plague of the Middle Age plague in Europe, and literature work.
Okay.
So Petrarch is at the same time of Dante, basically. So these figures were representing some kind of lore, some kind of story, and they were added on to the cards. And this is how the major arcana were added on. But we're still within a quote-unquote game kind of use of the cards.
Sure. Yes.
And at the same time, of course, most likely there must be a connection, because when with the Marseille Tarot, as well as we know it, they also have the major arcana attached to it. So for sure, there was this kind of development between the 1400 and the 1500, and connection between the development of these cards. It's complicated.
It is complicated. I mean, like I talk about a history of tarot in my tarot course in Japanese, obviously, and it's covered in, like, that Italian part is covered in 3 minutes. I mean, like people not gonna listen to like 20 minutes of like history of the tarot when they actually want to learn how to read the tarot cards. But it is interesting that there was so much thoughts that were put into creating, or like conceptualizing the cards. However, it was still used for game. Not that, like I don't consider game to be wonderful or anything, but
yeah, there is what we know in history. We know that pretty much the tarot was officially started to be used as a divination from the 1700s. So we're talking about 300 years later than actually the production of the tarot itself. Although there are records of divination using the tarot in Bologna, for instance. There is a record of divination in Bologna that was also early 1700.
Okay.
And then we have to wait until the 1700 to actually have some records of use of tarot for divination purposes.
Yeah.
And that's when, the first stage was the tailors attaching the tarot to the Egyptian origins. And it was the very first step for the divination. And the second step was Eliphas Levi with the connection with Kabbalah. Alphabet. And then the last step, I think it was
we are more like a Midas, wasn't it? Margaret,
right.
Dennett Waite or Tamara Smith. They are more like fourth tier.
Right.
Yeah. And then, of course, later on, Aleister Crowley to be. Right. Yeah.
Right. But we can see that, at least as I see it, I don't see it as an evolutionary
it's not like a straight line evolution. It's actually like taken something and started branching out.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because the Rider-Waite is and has nothing pretty much to do with the Solabusca or with the
Stora. So I'd like to go back to that how Italians perceive tarot, and are they proud of their philosophical, artistic history in terms with tarot cards?
I don't think many people are aware of it, but I think who is aware of it, of course, we are kind of proud, because we have not only the card was originally created in Italy, and the major arcana was actually originally created in Italy, but we have the two major ones that are the Solabusca, which is from Ferrara, Venice of the 14th.
Which is your hometown, right? How old were you when you found out about it? Like, what did you feel about that?
I think it was in my 20s, I guess, when I found out that the Solabusca were actually from my hometown. And it's very interesting because, we have the Solabusca and the Sforza, right? or you call the Visconti Sforza. The Visconti Sforza are the one from Milan, and then we have the Solabusca that are from Ferrara and Venice, and they're pretty much period-wise, they're very close to each other. We're talking about late 1400, early 1500.
Yeah.
The difference between the two is like they both have very exquisite and beautiful artwork. Extremely complicated, extremely elaborated artwork, beautiful artwork. The Visconti Sforza are most likely maybe earlier even than the Solabusca, but the Solabusca were the first deck that was completed with 78 cards.
Wow. Have you seen the original?
Yeah, it's the only deck that we have all 78 cards.
Hand-painted ones?
Yeah.
Is it at a museum?
Yeah, it's at the Pinacoteca of Brera in Milan. You can actually, if you go to Milan, you can visit that. It's like a museum. It's called Pinacoteca. It's like a museum, and these cards are exposed.
Wow.
This is I think you may remember the Solabusca because when Pamela Coleman Smith had the opportunity to see this deck in London, because it was exposed in London during the time of early 1900s.
Yes.
So she saw this deck and actually she got inspired. In fact, you see like the Three of Swords, for instance, the same card. Yeah. While the Visconti Sforza from Milan, although they are from the same time, similar time, and a similar structure, the Visconti Sforza, although Visconti Sforza were maybe 15, 20 different decks, and maybe there are more in somebody's home that they don't even know that they have it. But the most famous one, like we have the Modrone one, we have the Brera one. So the most famous Visconti Sforza that we have today, they will never be able to find all 78 cards. They were always missing some. Yeah, so this is, I think, is the major difference between the Visconti Sforza and the Solabusca. In all the reproduction that we have today of the Visconti Sforza, some cards are being reinvented, trying to follow the same theme, but has been remade.
Yeah.